She shared a post, declaring that a true monarch leaves a gathering when dignity is no longer offered, right after she made a spectacle and stormed out of the eatery, abandoning my family. I responded with a simple, "Enjoy your meal." Then I settled the bill for my family's dinners and gave the restaurant manager her name for the unpaid tab. When the authorities showed up at her place later, accusing her of theft, my former girlfriend, let's call her Celeste for this tale, didn't just live her life. She crafted it, she performed it. Her entire existence was a relentless campaign to market a brand nobody was truly investing in, herself. Every small setback, every personal flaw, every instance of ordinary human conflict was instantly processed, polished, and broadcast online, paired with a saying so deep it could have been embroidered on a throw pillow. If she was late for a meetup, it wasn't due to poor planning. No, as her post would later proclaim, a woman who values herself doesn't hurry for anyone. If she blew her rent money on an outrageously pricey purse, it wasn't financial recklessness. According to her social media, it was a bold step toward prioritizing her joy. She had a quip for every situation. Dating her was like being with a walking, talking boutique of inspirational quotes. For 2 years, I convinced myself this was an endearing trait. Love, after all, can make you foolish. I'm a no-nonsense guy. As a structural engineer, I build bridges. My work is about linking 2 points with a sturdy, reliable, and rational design. Celeste's mission, as far as I could tell, was to sow disorder and then spin it into a narrative of self-empowerment with a catchy phrase. Looking back, we were a terrible fit. The beginning of the end came when I decided it was time for her to meet my family. I delayed this step, not out of embarrassment about them, but out of fear for what might happen. My family is the opposite of Celeste, quiet, warm, and refreshingly ordinary, hailing from the suburbs. My dad's idea of excitement is experimenting with a new type of plant food for his garden. My mom's passion is discovering innovative ways to prepare poultry. My sister, Emma, is a high school chemistry teacher who speaks almost entirely in sharp, witty sarcasm. They're wonderful people, and I knew introducing Celeste to them would be like tossing a flamboyant parrot into a henhouse. There'd be noise, chaos, and someone was bound to get scratched. But we were serious, or so I thought, so this was the logical next move. Celeste treated the news like she'd been invited to a royal banquet at a palace. "Meeting the family," she mused, her expression contemplative. "This is a significant energetic alignment. I need to prepare my spirit." Her preparation involved 3 days of binge-watching motivational speakers online, purchasing an exorbitantly priced dress, and spending an hour meditating on our living room rug, chanting softly. I prepared by downing 2 painkillers and sending a preemptive apology to my sister via text. We chose a respectable Italian restaurant as the venue, neutral territory, not too upscale, not too laid back, with linen napkins but no strict dress code. I thought it was a safe choice. I was mistaken. The first 20 minutes were a showcase of discomfort. My dad tried to make small talk about the drive over. Celeste responded by saying she doesn't acknowledge traffic as it's a reflection of society's collective stress. My dad, a man who's driven the same route for decades, just stared blankly and took a slow sip of his drink. My mom, ever kind, tried to connect. "That's a lovely pendant, Celeste," she said warmly. Celeste touched the gemstone around her neck. "Thank you," she replied, her tone turning ethereal. "It's raw amethyst, absorbing negative vibrations and stabilizing my spiritual essence. It's vital for someone as sensitive as I am. The world can be overwhelming." My sister Emma, who'd been observing like a scientist studying a rare creature, jumped in. "Wow," she said, her voice laced with mock awe. "Does it block bad cell signals too? My classroom's reception is awful." Celeste didn't find it funny. A faint frown creased her forehead. The queen was not pleased. But the real breaking point, the moment the bridge I'd carefully constructed began to buckle, came during the main course. My mom, in her nurturing way, asked Celeste the question that sparked disaster. "So, Celeste," she said, slicing into her chicken cacciatore, "Tom says you're a creative strategist. That sounds fascinating. What exactly do you strategize about?" It was a harmless, friendly question meant to spark conversation. But to Celeste, it was an act of rebellion against her sovereignty. Her smile grew rigid. She set her fork down with a precise, deliberate clink. "What I do," she began, her voice icy, "is guide individuals and companies to align their stories with their authentic, energetic core. I shape vibes, I curate impressions. It's not something easily grasped by those accustomed to a conventional, rigid lifestyle." The unspoken, "you people," hung heavily in the air. My dad shifted uncomfortably. My mom's smile wavered. Emma raised an eyebrow, shooting me a look that screamed, "You picked her." "Oh," my mom said, flustered. "That's lovely." Celeste wasn't finished. "It's more than lovely," she said, leaning in. "It's vital. But it demands mutual respect and open-mindedness. I can sense when a space isn't welcoming to that." With that, she shoved her chair back, its legs screeching against the floor. She stood, radiating regal indignation. The table and nearby diners fell silent. "I believe," she declared to the room, "that I've been remarkably patient. I've tried to engage, but I refuse to expose my soul to an atmosphere of judgment and hostility." She snatched her tiny, impractical handbag from the table. "I wish you all well on your paths." She marched out of the restaurant, a proud, self-righteous ship sailing out of a bewildered port. She left behind a half-eaten plate of shrimp linguine, 4 stunned family members, and me, grappling with a sinking feeling of dread. For a moment, silence reigned, then Emma cleared her throat. "Well," she said, lifting her wine glass, "she sure knows how to make a grand exit. Full marks for theatrics, 0 for reason." I was mortified, apologizing profusely, but my dad raised a hand. "Not your fault, son," he said softly. "You can't control a storm." At that moment, my phone buzzed, a new notification. With shaky hands, I checked it. It was Celeste naturally posting from the rideshare she'd taken home. A perfectly staged selfie, looking contemplative yet fierce, with the caption, "A monarch knows when to leave a feast when honor is no longer present." I stared at it, watching the likes pour in from her legion of online admirers. "So courageous. Protect your energy, queen." They were applauding her outburst, fueling her fantasy. Something in me broke. The part that had excused her behavior, that had rationalized her nonsense, simply gave up. She wasn't a charming eccentric. She was a self-absorbed child in an adult's body, and I was done. I was done mopping up her messes, done being the steady ground for her chaotic circus. I reread her post, the line about leaving the table. With a calm I hadn't felt in ages, I typed my response, "Enjoy your meal." Then I put my phone away. The turning point had passed. It was time to act. I signaled the waiter, a young guy who looked like he'd just seen a train wreck. "We're ready for the check," I said evenly. "But to be clear, there were 5 of us and only 4 are paying." The waiter looked puzzled. The manager, a serious man named Mr. Morty, approached. I explained calmly. "The woman who was here," I said, gesturing to Celeste's empty seat, "is my ex-girlfriend now. She caused that scene and left without paying for her meal. My family and I will cover our 4 meals. Her meal, the $28 shrimp linguine, is her responsibility." Mr. Morty frowned. "Sir, if she was with your group," I interrupted politely. "She made it clear she's no longer with us. She left the table after all, but I'm happy to help. I'll give you her full name and address so you can bill her directly. I wouldn't want your restaurant to lose money because of her dramatic tendencies." I grabbed a pen, scribbled Celeste Rayburn and our shared apartment address on a napkin, and slid it over. Mr. Morty studied it, then me, seeing I was dead serious. He gave a sharp nod. "Very well." I paid for our 4 meals, leaving a $50 tip for the waiter with a note. "So sorry." Then I took my family home. The next day brought a flood of texts from Celeste. She was livid about my "enjoy your meal" comment, calling it petty and disrespectful. She accused me of betraying her by siding with my family. She demanded I apologize. She had no clue what was coming. She thought my sarcastic comment was the extent of my response. She thought she'd won. The consequences hit 2 days later. I was at work when my phone rang. It was Celeste in a full-blown panic, not just crying, screaming. "They're here," she wailed. "The police are at my door." "You called the cops on me, you maniac." I held the phone away from my ear. "Celeste, calm down. What's going on?" "2 officers are here. They say Sorrento's filed a report. They're charging me with theft over some pasta." "This is your doing?" I almost felt a flicker of pity, almost. But then I remembered her standing at that table, insulting my family, and it vanished. "Let me be clear," I said, my voice steady as stone. "I didn't call the police. I paid for my meal and my family's meals. I didn't pay for yours. You ordered it, ate most of it, and left without paying. In the real world, that's not a bold act of self-worth. It's a crime called theft of services or defrauding an establishment. The restaurant, which likes to be paid for its work, called the police. This isn't my fault, Celeste. It's the logical result of your actions." She was silent for a moment, just sputtering in fury. But you were supposed to take care of it. You were supposed to pay." "Why?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Why was I supposed to do that?" "Because that's what she started. A partner respects their partner and their family. A customer pays for their food. You failed at both. I just stopped being your fallback. You left the table, remember? You can't walk out and expect someone else to cover your bill. I heard a muffled voice in the background, an officer telling her to step outside. I have to go, she whispered, her voice trembling with fear that felt oddly satisfying. They're taking me to the station. She hung up. I later learned she wasn't arrested but was charged and given a court summons. She had to hire a lawyer, costing her over $2,000 in legal fees to settle a $28 bill she could have paid. The charge was dropped after she paid a fine and wrote an embarrassing apology to the restaurant. She tried contacting me a few more times, alternating between threats to sue for emotional distress and desperate pleas for help with her legal costs. I ignored them all. I'd already moved my belongings out of the apartment while she was busy dealing with her new role as a pasta-stealing outlaw. A week later, I was at my parents' house for a calm Sunday dinner. It was serene. We ate grilled chicken. My dad talked about his garden. At one point, Emma looked at me with a sly grin. So, she said, any new monarchs in your life? I laughed, a real, heartfelt laugh. No, I said. I'm officially done with royal drama. Later, out of curiosity, I checked Celeste's social media one last time. She'd posted a new image, a lone wolf howling under a moonlit sky. The caption read, "The strongest souls bear the deepest wounds." I shook my head, smiled, and blocked her number and profile. I took a deep breath of the calm, ordinary, drama-free air. It felt like liberation. And it was far more satisfying than shrimp linguine.